All right, everybody, welcome to the RPL tier list for the Championship League. We're going to be trying out a new kind of segment here on RPL Twitch stream, talking about tier lists, ranking teams, and the individual roles. Would you guys like to tell us yourselves? Because we had 3 people working on this tier list, so introduce yourselves.
Uh,
All right. I'm David, or some of you might know me as Chibi Tarasu. I'm an 80 carry main. I'm washed up, so yeah, that's about it.
would you consider yourself a B tier 80 carry?
Definitely.
Well, I guess I'm Screen Hunter, and most of you know me as Screen Hunter. And I guess technically, if I most played, I guess I would be a support main. Definitely C tier support, but I don't think there's been a support tier list yet because there's no support mains as casters.
Hey, you know I'm that S tier owner.
Exactly.
Uh, yeah, so I'm Elucid, the owner of RPL, and today we're just gonna talk about mostly objectively, because we don't really know any of these players that well. So we're gonna try to keep everything consistent in terms of how we go about how we feel about the tier list, and obviously it's gonna be your skill up till like we're evaluating based on the last 3 weeks that's been played. So we're not talking about like who's done well in previous seasons, who's new, and who does well in ranked or whatever. We're just looking purely at like how you've played in the past like 3 weeks. So you guys want to start off with the teams? Uh,
Here.
so I'm gonna quickly show the team tier list. Um, who wants to start off for that?
Um, I guess I can start with the. Do you want to start from the bottom or the top? I think.
Yeah, I think we can start at the bottom. I mean, kind of want to start at the top. Just it makes it easier to explain because it's kind of similar in terms of standings as well. Not really, but kind of.
Yeah. I guess like immediately deviate by looking at our S tier. Our S tier team is not actually the number one team in RPL right now, but I think they're tied for first, if I'm not mistaken,
No, they are tied for third place right now.
or they're tied for third. So yeah, they're 4-2. But I think they're also you could say that they have like the TSM effect. Oh, by the way, the team is fifth spectrum, but I think it's the TSM effect where yeah they've lost games and are not number one, but they're definitely the team that seems to have the most clarity in their games and the team that can also close out games the best.
Yeah, I think in the sense that they know how to play. So, um, there was a game that was streamed between them and BME, and it just looked very one-sided. And it looks like most of their games from their match histories and stuff, they just look like they're stomping the first 35 minutes. But the problem is, as we go towards like the last like any game that goes 40 minute, 45 minute plus, it seems that they're struggling to close it out because maybe they don't have a clue on what to do, but it's just they have such a strong early game and objective control because if you look, they have one of the most like um they have the most dragons killed, um barons taken. I think they're the top, tied for top, and they have the
Mm-hmm.
most rift heralds taken. Um and they also have one of the highest numbers of towers destroyed. So that I mean the thing is like they're very objective based, and it looks like all the other teams are either like fighting a lot and trying to go for like um, steamroller or deathball teams where you just kind of just run down. Um, so that's kind of why we gave them S tier. I don't know, David was also with us on this, so this was kind of a 3-0. So David, what are your thoughts on that fixed spectrum?
Yeah, so the fact that they have like the same, like comparable objective control to like the two teams above them, is while they have like one more loss is actually kind of impressive since even in their like it suggests that even in their losses they're um getting these objectives and like perhaps growing a lead, except perhaps in the late game, as you said before, they just start losing control of the game, and that's where they usually pick up those losses, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
So general, yeah.
yeah, and I
Okay.
think for us at least, we noticed that a lot of the teams that were top tier right now had a lot of games that were just like forfeit wins, right? So Taco Esports I think had 4, and
Yeah.
CMS had 2 to 3, something like that, and Fifth Spectrum also had 2. So we just looked at like who played more games and uh, kind of was objectively having.
Right. I think it just makes sense. Like we haven't the other two teams. It seems like
Yeah,
Taco
I
and
mean,
Crit.
Django also raises a good question. He says, why is this team labeled as S tier when the two A tier teams have beaten the S tier team?
I think it's just they're a while they've lost to both of these teams. I think they're just a more well-rounded team. It seems like Taco and CMS. In the games that they've won, they've been. If they haven't been forfeit wins, I'm just not sure about them as like a team overall.
Yeah, and I
Okay,
think,
so
yeah, go ahead.
okay, so specifically like with the taco match against FS, we like looked at least I looked into it specifically. FS actually pulled off like a pretty huge lead early on and kept it throughout the mid game. Except like later on, they just apparently in like what we said before, they kind of lose it and like throw at like certain objectives or like don't know how to perhaps close out the game correctly. So this is kind of a big problem. Except with their like strong early game, they actually are able to face this problem. We think that they're like a much stronger team than the two teams that are higher than them in the standings right now.
Yeah, and I think the two teams that have beaten them haven't beaten them to the point where it seems one-sided of a win. Um, Taco Esports definitely like, uh, I mean with their roster changes, I don't know if Taco can actually will be able to keep up for the rest of the season. So I think Fifth Spectrum's roster is somewhat changing. Um, so it's somewhat changing in terms of like supports getting swapped out. But I think if they keep the roster they have right now, so where Kid Lad just came back this last weekend, and he's already like number one ADC ranked in the tier list, or not the tier list, sorry, the actual fantasy standings. I think they have a good shot of becoming S tier, and I think because of the first 2 weeks kind of being like not advantageous for them, they were able to lose. But the CMS or the I think it's the Taco, right? The Taco game they lost.
Hmm.
Kidlat did play, but he had like the only reason they lost is because they made a very silly error where they didn't realize that the enemy team had 2 AOE's up, like AOE champs like Jinx, and then they try to like do a pit fight instead of just trying to figure out a different way to end the game. So I think they're just making really silly errors when the games are going on longer. But if they constrain themselves where they just think like less than what's it called? If they go for less than 40-minute wins, I think they are the most solid team in terms of less than 40 minutes or less than 35 minutes ish.
Yeah, I agree with
But
that.
as the games go on, I think CMS and Taco Esports are definitely better late game teams. Like they know what they're doing. So I think they might just have more pristine shot calling later on. But I think Fifth Spectrum, in terms of laning and just early game jungle pressure, like they're doing something that seems just more impressive. Like especially Snowflake, just putting lots of pressure on the map for the enemy junglers to kind of come to her, or they're attracting attention. So I think that's really nice.
Yeah, I think what you said about late game versus early game is pretty important. Where I think CMS and Taco are kind of they wait. They're not really putting on as much pressure as they could in the early game, whether it be laning problems or less jungle pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, and then A tier for us. Was A tier for us was pretty easy. I think we
Yeah,
chose Crit Me Senpai and Taco Esports. This was an area where I went Crit Me first and then Taco, but I think they're pretty much equal, like how they play. But because of the one win where Crit Me Senpai pretty much, it was a one-sided victory for Crit Me Senpai. They had a 16K goal lead at the end of the game, and it was like a 26-minute game, and Taco Esports just wasn't able to keep up with them. So I think that's why we written them first, and that's what we agreed to do. But
I
I would
think it's
consider
also
them both kind of equal in their own ways.
the other thing is that CMS has much better objective control. Like you look at the towers and the dragons, the heralds, and everything. It's just CMS is winning in every single category over Taco. That is.
Yeah. David, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so you mentioned that they both like gotten 2 free wins off of buys, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the under 30-minute wins, so like if there's two free wins for both teams, that means CMS is like pretty much dominated in all 3 of their wins. Like close them out really fast, so they actually know how to like close out games. And then Taco, there's at least one game where they kind of dragged it out. I'm pretty sure that's the one against Fifth Spectrum where they came back from that huge
Yeah, they
deficit.
came back from a huge deficit. And that might just be comps because I think that's the game they drafted a better team comp overall because I think since like FS was picking like Tristana and stuff, like they wanted to go for towers, but they ended up being forced to fight against the Jinx, which is normally picked better around for the. Well, you pick normally Jinx for the team fight because you compose a comp around her because she can't survive on her own. But Tristana at least allows you to take towers, but I think they probably just didn't use their win condition later on, so CMS was able to or Taco was able to make a good return against them. So I think that might be why, but I still think like Fifth Spectrum's, like you said, the under 30-minute wins, I think that's huge for them. Like that's something they're pretty consistent with, considering that they've only played 4 games. So what they had 3 out of 4 wins, which were under 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you want to move it on to the B
Yeah,
tier?
yeah, the B tier, of course, of course. So B tier and C tier. This was kind of weird for us. I think. Well, you guys want to talk about it because you guys did most of the B tier, C tier stuff.
Oh yeah. I'll talk about C tier. David, you want to go ahead with B tier?
All right, so we thought all 3 of these teams were pretty much equal. They're like kind of towards the middle of the pack, bottom-ish. So they're we put BME above them since they have been winning more, and like
Yeah, and BME has a very, very strong win against. Was it CMS?
yeah, I think it was against CMS.
Yeah, it was CMS, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's that. They have that going for them. Except I think we still think they're below CMS and Taco since they have um just generally less dominant wins overall.
Yeah, it's like the
Like
consistency in play.
yeah. So then the other 2 teams in B tier, TFS and DBD, we found them to be uh kind of just weaker overall, except it's still uh let's see. Yeah, they have like really low control over dragons and barons and heralds, and their towers destroyed is like okay, but they have 2 wins in those towers destroyed. So it's like 9 towers destroyed and 2 wins. That's either suggesting you're losing really hard in the losses or you're like barely winning off some random pick in your wins. So it's like really inconsistent play for them, or just uh, rather weak play compared to the other teams in the league.
Yeah, and I think at least B and C tier for us. I don't know how we went about deciding for C tier. I think it's because they had really close wins and like really long games. At least the last 2 weeks. I know first week they were doing pretty well. But it kind of started going
C tier.
downhill for them last 2 weeks. Yeah, what's up?
C tier
Your mic's cutting off.
is like Echo Fox
What? That?
fell off.
Yeah, start over. Your mic just cut off completely. I just heard C tier, Echo Fox.
A better.
Yeah. It's better. Just go ahead.
So C tier, like they started off well. It's like the Echo Fox effect. where they started off really well and they've just completely fallen off. Like I don't know, in the games that I've seen in the past 2 weeks, I don't see what the team is trying to go for. I don't see a game plan. It seems like every game they're just playing. It's like they're playing on autopilot.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have a changing roster literally every week, right? They don't run the
Exactly.
same
It's like
players weekly. They, from what I've seen, they've changed top laner since week one. They've changed support since week one. They've changed mid since week one, and AD's been the only consistent position that they've had. And jungle's been changed pretty much every week, technically, because their support moved to jungle. Um, but yeah, I think if they become more consistent team with this roster that they've just settled into, then I would consider moving them up.
Yeah.
But in terms of B tier, I think Blood Moon is definitely highest. Team Fallen Soul doesn't have many games in, and DBD just seems to be kind of in a slump in the start right here. So I'm not really sure like what's going on with Team Fallen Soul and Death Before Dishonor, but BME just looks like a B plus B team. So um, give them time. I think they have a chance to grow. But they are weaker or compared to the other 4-2 team. Uh, they they don't have like the same amount of objective control and yeah, just objective control and like pre 30-minute wins. They're just not on the same level.
I think that's
Yeah, I
wraps
think
up.
that's pretty solid for the teams. Let's go to top lane. All right, let's go ahead.
I think before we move on, Django actually brings up a really good point. So, which team has the best? It's something we should talk about. What team do we think has the most potential to like move up or down?
Chance of moving in a tier. I would say for sure Blood Moon Esports. I think they're my personal favorites in terms of moving up and down in the tier list. I think they can only move up from here honestly because they've been playing pretty well. They even took a game off of CMS.
Hmm. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's move on to top then.
Biased. Oops. All right, let's go to top lane.
The top, Beta Fox. For the people who are
Beta
talking
Fox
about
is
Beta Fox and stuff,
Prestige League. We're just doing Championship right now.
yeah.
So go ahead for top lane. David, you want to start us off? You're the mastermind behind top lane.
Wait, I didn't do the top lane
Oh
one.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
That was
Oops.
me. That was me.
He's BME coach. He's biased. I'm not actually coach for BME. I just do pick bans sometimes. Not all the time though. I actually only do picks. They just ban random stuff, and I'm like, oh, you're not lagging today. Pretty good.
Yeah. I think if we take a look at stats and just in-game play, I think it's pretty obvious that Foley is deserved of the S tier position on everyone's tier list for top lane. He's just outperforming every single other top laner in the league. He's contributing to his team. He's not dying. He's CSing. He's the second highest CS per minute in the league. And he has the only 2 triple kills out of all the top laners. I don't see how any other top laner even is contesting how well he's been playing.
Yeah, and I think originally when we made the tier list, there was no S tier, but after seeing Foley's score, I think we considered adding in the S tier for them. And just looking at him overall, 11.2 KDA, 36 kills, one of the highest, and he has one of the highest kill contributions for any top laner in the league. And he has 2 triple kills. He has highest CS per minute technically. The only other being Peaceful Rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, his assists are really high, and for 5 games, he has one of the lowest deaths.
Yeah, he's actually only died maybe once or twice per game.
Yeah, he has he has legit less about 1 death a game. So
he actually has the second least deaths
yeah,
out of all the top laners, and he's played the most games.
yeah. So I think in terms of his stats, what I'm seeing, and even his DPMs and stuff and GPMs, like he's just easily the number one top laner. Okay, so let's go to A tier. Silky and Dogster. Now, give us your thoughts.
These two were like really close.
Yeah,
Well,
this is like the hard one to decide who would be on top and who was on bottom.
yeah.
David, what was your reasoning behind it?
So we looked at these two and they were like kind of comparable. Dogster has I mean, Silky's kill contribution is pretty low, except it's top lane, so it's sometimes an island, so you can kind of forgive him for that. their CS per minute is like really comparable, only 0.2 difference. But then the big difference between these two top laners is Dockster has 21 deaths compared to Silky's 7 deaths
Hey,
in
don't
the same amount
laugh.
of games. Wait, don't laugh. What the hell? Yeah, so
Hey, don't laugh.
No, I was reading Eternal's comment. He said Doxter just because they're a diamond in the rough. Django makes a good point. That's actually what we looked at, Django. Doxter has 3 times as many more deaths but less kills. That's BM, man. No, we were laughing at Eternal's comment. He made a funny Kappa pride or Kappa. Anyway,
Yeah,
continue.
dude, that Kappa icon is really funny. I cannot laugh. It's very hard to
David, go
not
ahead.
laugh.
David, go ahead. We're not laughing. We were enjoying the moment.
all right, so the fact that Dockster has 3 times as many deaths as Silky, kind of put him below
But
Silky.
we still think they're really good.
They
They're
still,
both
yeah,
like,
they still like really close together, except Silky just dies less, you know. It's more of
yeah.
a rock there. Doesn't need to
Yeah, and I
perhaps
think I
like
think I
yeah.
think that could just be like he's using TP incorrectly. Like that's like you can tell Doxter has higher kill contribution. So he's definitely rotating with his team or to his team or TPing to his team, right? But it's causing him to lose his life a lot. I was gonna say lose pressure, but lose life. Like he's literally dying because of it, or he's just getting solo killed in lane. I don't think he's getting solo killed in lane. From what I've seen, he's
He's
like
not.
pretty good in lane. So I
A
think he's
lot of
just
the
dying from rotations.
a lot of his deaths are when he's in team fights, when he's
Oh,
tanking for
in
his
team
team.
fights. Yeah,
Yeah, when he tanks for his team.
yeah. That's and I think he makes up for a little bit of it by with his kill participation, but like they're kind of like this like two sides of a coin where like you use TP too much and you die a little bit more, or you don't use TP at all and you just die like not a lot at all, right?
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what made us kind of do Silky first and then Dogster, but I ultimately think they're both kind of the same.
yeah,
All
at
right,
the
let's
same
go. Let's
level.
go B tier. Peaceful Rain and Calridian.
Calridian, we just haven't seen enough of. Like, we can't really put him last, because the one game that he played pretty well. So there's not really much to say about Calridian other than we need to see.
Yeah, I think his stats look similar to like I think more like Dogster, but he obviously hasn't played enough games, so he doesn't have the same number of kills and assists, but he does have the same amount of kill participation, and he does have like only a point 0.4 CS differential from him. So I think he's like since we don't have enough games, we put him under Peaceful Rain, but I think Peaceful Rain like he's arguably has a lot more games, but he stands out more than the other players who have the four games that aren't Silky and Doxer. So pretty much Pima and Charmander and Mikhail, who's 3.
Hmm.
And those are who are our bottom C1 C tier spots.
Yep.
Yep. Nothing more to say other than let's move on to jungle. You guys have any comments before we move on to jungle?
I think just to going off of what Django asked last year, I think the two people who have the most variability and where they can move up or down will be Calridian and Dogster. I think Dogster has a lot of potential in him. I've seen him play. I think he can move. He can become an S tier top laner if he works on really just like dying, not dying so much, because he already has great kill participation. He's doing a lot for his team. Just needs to become a little bit more of a KDA player. And
Yeah,
Calridian, we
the
just need
thing
to see.
is the thing is like even if you're tanking for your team in team fights, you don't have to die to tank.
Yeah,
Like you can get out without dying, and you've done your job.
Yeah, I don't think 21 is acceptable in any standards. Even if you're tanking, like you can just say, oh yeah, I'm the tank and I died 21 times. It's
I'm the
like
tank,
that
and you leave at like
yeah,
when
you
you're
just
almost
like
dead.
yeah, you can't die 21 times when no other top laner has done that. That's literally the highest number of deaths on that sheet. But I think give it 2 weeks, I think he could be an S tier or maybe even contesting with Foley. I think
yeah.
they're both like great players. All right, so
Yeah.
let's move on to jungle. Um, so jungle, there is no S tier, but there is an A tier tie. We put Ready to Penguin and TSM Batman. And would you like to give us the reasonings, David? Let's start with you, since screener started the last one.
All right, so these two junglers are like very similar. They have similar like kill contributions. Um, Can't really look at their CS per minute 'cause it's bugged, but
Yeah, CS per minute is a little bit bugged right now for the junglers because it doesn't include like the regular
Jungle
creeps
camp.
they're getting or something. I don't know what's going on, but I think it's just looking at the CS they get in lane and not their jungle camps, which is kind of weird for some. Like I don't know why Riot would do that, um, but yeah, I'll try to see if I can fix that and hopefully that'll get updated. But go ahead, David.
yeah. So like they have the same amount of deaths, except Betty the Penguin just like slightly edges Batman out in just kills and assists, and also slightly by like 1% higher kill contribution. So I'm pretty sure like these two are like very similar. Just Betty the Penguin's just a slight bit ahead of Batman in the stats in
Yeah,
general.
so we can't really like say one is better than the other. It just seems like Ready to Penguin got lucky with some kills.
Yeah, I think they're both really good junglers in terms of their participation to their team, like what they're contributing to the team, especially early game, because that's I'm guessing how they're snowballing their teams to victory. Because these are the uh, two of the best teams in or two of the three best teams in Championship League. So they're obviously doing something right. I think that's why we think they're both A tier. But there are some things that I look for a jungler that I'm not seeing. That yeah, TSM Batman is like one of the highest in terms of I think counter jungling, and Ready to Penguins has the kill contribution that's helping snowball lanes such as like Snowflake Geckos and Kidlats. But uh, they're not putting immense amount of pressure, and there's a lot of times they misplay. Like if you watch the stream for Ready to Penguin, there was they get over ambitious when they're ahead. I think, especially since he's playing Lee Sin. Um, so yeah, I think
Lee
that's why we
Syndrome.
kind of took the S tier out for the junglers. Because I think
Yeah,
I never like for me at least I don't think there's ever like a great like a god tier jungler. I always think there's great junglers because
yeah, I
they're
agree.
all just great in what they do. All right, let's move down to the B tier.
Yeah, so B tier we have Zerobi and Mix Swirl Mix, and people might question this because they're pretty low in terms of like where they are in fantasy scores, but I don't think that's really representative of what they're being able to do for their team. And in the one, they've only played one game apiece, but both games, they both were providing a lot of early pressure for their team. Zerobi especially had almost 70% kill participation, or more than 70%, and I think that's like well, if you have really high kill participation as a jungler, it means you're being able to dictate the pace of the game. I think that's really important for a jungler to be able to do, especially in team play.
For sure. So David, any yeah, I mean like basically like B tier was kind of like it's like middle of the pack junglers that are like doing their job basically, but not overreaching. So they're just kind of like they're both players who have one game played right now, so their stats could mean absolutely nothing or everything. So like it's hard to say. And then there's C tier. So you want to go ahead, David? Tell us about C tier.
All right, C tier. We see these junglers. It's Zawa and Milk Squeezy, correct?
Yeah.
So their kill contributions are quite a bit lower than what I would expect from a jungler, since like they're able to do stuff on the map compared to just any other laner, since they're stuck in lanes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so junglers should be the ones like creating the plays, creating the kills for the most part in the early game at least. So then these guys have like sub 55% kill contributions. So they're obviously, I mean, not obviously, but like they're not doing as much for their team as some of the other top tier junglers are.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
Zawa's at a pretty low 35% kill contribution.
Yeah,
So I don't know what he's
that's
doing in
also
his
stuck out
games,
for me.
but
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
know what he's doing in his games. You can't
But
say that, David. Continue.
I'm sure he's not killing the enemy champions. That's about it.
You're a deductive genius.
Yeah. And then D tier Corrupted Whimsy. I don't want to get flamed, but I put Corrupted Whimsy in D tier of against what Chibi and Elucid were saying. They were saying, nah, he's a C tier jungler. I think that 22 deaths as a jungler is just straight up unacceptable. I've been playing a little bit of jungle recently, and I think if you're dying that much, it basically means you're playing jungle like I am, and you're walking into mid lane, giving the enemy team a kill, and then pushing, and at the same time you push his wave, and then he's just you get your mid laner to flame you. You're just not being able to provide any pressure for your team. And so
Or
I
you
think
know,
that like as a jungler, it's better to have much less stats and just farm your jungle. You might not be putting any jungle pressure, but at least you're not giving the enemy team so much gold.
Mhm. Yeah, I think my biggest issue with Corrupted Whimsy is that he's not a jungler, and he doesn't have a very set champion pool. Like if you look at him, it doesn't feel like he plays any of the champions he's playing right now, and that might be the biggest reason of why we kind of put him there. It's like he's not a jungler, and he's just playing this role because his team doesn't have a jungler, and
Yeah,
that's kind of why he's at the bottom for at least us. All
yeah,
right, so you guys want to go to mid?
yeah. I'm
Now,
gonna
now,
go
before
this
we
one.
go to mid, this is not a surprise for some of you guys. We all know where this is going. Do you need to
Yeah.
guess realistically? David, you know what? You spill the beans for us. Let's go to mid right now.
Wait. We can ask chat. Who does
They already saw
chat
it.
think? All right, perfect.
Hey, take the guess now.
Django has
oh wow,
It seems that Django has gotten
Snowflake Gecko. What a surprise!
I mean,
I don't
I
David,
think
mean,
anyone saw it coming.
David, second place mid laner has 46 points on average, and she's having 67.26.
Yeah, but if you just look at the top stats in Championship League, she's like top in everything.
Yeah, she's
yeah.
literally number one in
Highest gold per
every.
minute, highest CS per minute, most kills, most damage per minute. It's like everything that you want out of mid laner.
She's just
So
doing so much for
it's
her team.
literally just just like not comparable to anyone else.
And it's
She's
like
like definitely
Bjergsen.
tiers above.
She's the Bjergsen of our league.
Yeah, Sir Semperfi might have solo killed her, but that's fucking Zed into Lux guy. You want to play that matchup?
It was Zed into Oriana,
I
which
was
is
Zed into
also which is
Oriana.
also still a terrible matchup if you have no mana on your hands and overstay the lane. Yeah, but Flaming Dragon only has one game, and he's not a starting mid laner for their team. But
Yeah,
yeah, he,
so
he could be uh I mean yeah, he's like not placed. So
we should preface this that if you were a sub for just one game, we were trying to restrict our tier list to just like the main rosters. So certain anomalies might exist, but we just didn't account for them.
for sure. You guys wanna go to
I mean, A tier I think is also pretty easy to explain, where Winter Heat's he he's doing a lot for his team, and I think yeah, he doesn't have the highest kill contribution, and he still has like the second least deaths out of all of them, and he's still being able to provide a lot of lane pressure. He's just not to the level of Snowflake Gecko. He's doing a lot of the same things, just not at that same
Uh,
tier. And his CSing is a bit low, like 5.5 per minute, not the greatest for a mid laner.
right. And David, I know you're having the argument in chat, but uh do you want to talk to him why we pretty much put him in B tier and put Winter Heat in A tier? They're pretty much the same player, but the reason we separated the two tiers was because the player we chose to put in B tier is having the same problems we've pretty much put always in C tier and D tier for the other two roles, right? So he's having the problem where he has the most deaths, like
Yeah,
he has more deaths, like more than twice the number of deaths when he has one less game played, right?
yeah,
So unless in the next game Volti gets 0 deaths for the next 2 games, and Winter Heat dies 13 times, they'll never be matched, right?
yeah,
And while he is applying kill contribution, they're pretty much the same. Like 3% difference, like you can get over it. And 8. Okay, so he has 8 more assists, right? So I mean that is nice, but Taco is like a winning team, right? So if you're not showcasing that, and it just seems like you have lots of deaths, and when you're on a good team, there's a lot of times where you have to like show off to become higher on the tier list, right?
hmm
So I don't think like yeah, I think compared to the other mid laners, it's like B tier, but since you're also on a good team, like it's pretty generous in a sense.
yeah,
But like it's not. I mean, obviously the tier list is up for argument because some people think they're higher up than other people. I mean that's just how it is. That's it's supposed to be a way to kind of stimulate thought. Um,
As Freak said, tier lists are opinions. So
I
it's
mean,
not
that's what they
necessarily if
are.
it's right or wrong.
And I think Freeze tier list is on point for how many games have been played,
Yeah.
but they're not accurate for the seasons that's been played. So that's
Hmm.
that's why people are complaining because of that reason. But I mean, then again, Reddit is stupid, so kind of have to get over it.
Double FB, double FB tier.
Double of B tier. I mean, the way he's playing
I
right
think
now, yeah, kind of. But not
I
I
like
mean,
think
like
like
how
as
all
of
of
when Freak.
TSM is below C9.
as of when Freak published the tier list, I
Yeah, as
think
of when Free Pro was of tier
yeah.
list. Obviously not
It was
now, but
Smoothie above Biofrost, Sneaky above Double Lift,
yeah. I mean, we also
and
saw
then there was
Arrow at the
Jensen
bottom, and
above
then.
Bjergsen, and then there was also Contracts
Hey,
above
at least the
Svenskeren.
okay, the David. The only thing you can't argue is the fact that Lod was at the bottom. All
Wait,
right,
wait. I think you can
that was what I call a spot on.
wait. I think the contracts Sven argument is pretty interesting because I feel like I'm one of the only people who thinks that contracts is actually playing very very well for a second season jungler. I think he's been playing really well and he's pretty consistent for C9.
Yeah, I
But I
mean,
think the
That's
problem
another
is
thing.
C9
this is
sixth
the
place.
RPL tier list. Hello, friends. Hello. This is the
I'm
RPL tier
sorry.
list. Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right, boy. You based it. Sorry. So B tier, I think Volt's B plus. Like, he's definitely like up
Yeah,
there. I think he would
yeah.
easily be contested with Winner Hate 2. But I think when we made this, we chose to make an A tier 1 and then B tier 2 people.
Yeah,
And we
because we were
put
like, we just
C9J Cash here because on on
he has the same
the
problem as the jungler,
yeah
Zerobi,
yeah pretty much.
where you just only seen one game, haven't seen
Yeah,
any games.
he's only seen one game, and it's like hard to say like he's C tier or D tier because his performance does show that he's doing okay.
Yeah,
So, and then C tier, we put only one person, which is our one shot king. And I think it's mostly because the fact that his champ pool is getting really constricted. Like, he's not allowed to play like Xerath ever. And he's pretty much always forced onto his third champion, which he doesn't normally enjoy playing. So that's kind of why he's C tier right now. But like, there's no way to showcase his skills unless he's getting put on a zero or not a zero, sorry, Xerath.
well, I think something to say about our one shot king is that he has pretty low kill contribution, which I guess is, I think it's really just because he's getting carried every game, and not that he's doing badly. He's allowing his team to carry him, and I think that's actually a plus point. Where if he
Yeah,
can get in
yeah, I think
on
that's a
more
skill
kills,
as it is by.
yeah. So and then D tier, Nico Feather. Just you have anything to say? I think.
I didn't
Uh,
have anything to say. I just thought that, like, the problem our one shot king is facing and the Neca Feather is facing are just completely different. Like, Neca Feather is like, she's doing well and she has the potential of doing well, but like, it's just like she's forced on the lowest ranked team, right? So it's hard to place her higher up because we haven't seen her be like exceptional on that team. Like she's performing at the level of her team, right? Which is D tier. So how can
right.
we place her any higher?
I mean, we've only seen them play,
Yeah,
and we've only seen her play 2 games, and that we know that team is having roster issues,
yeah.
so can't really put anything. Can't really say anything.
And then the final guy is Bagel, and he also has the same problems. He's having 20 deaths, really low KDA, extremely low farm. The only thing going for him right now is the kill participation, so it's kind of hard to like put him higher up because his team is also suffering, and
Yeah.
he's suffering on top of the fact that his team is suffering, so it kind of pushes him even farther down. So
Mhm.
that kind of sums up why we have the C tier and D tier. But I think from this tier list, I think our one shot king has most potential of moving up, and so does Voltzy. I don't know the other players because C9J Cash doesn't play every week, so they play like 1 to 2 games every other week, which is kind of weird. Um, and yeah, I think if 1-800 turns it around, I think Neko Feather can move up.
Yeah. Totally. And just I see there's a lot of questions. There's like a couple questions in chat, but rather than answering them now, just mention me in them, and we'll answer them at the end once we're done with all the
Yeah, I
tier
think
lists.
you should leave all the questions till the end, and we'll answer them at the end. All right, so
Yeah.
let's move on to the ADC. This was what David chose. I did the mid tier list kind of, and
Yeah.
David
I
worked
think
on
David's
mostly
supposed.
the reasoning behind the ADC tier list.
Yeah.
All right, so David, go ahead.
All
Give us
right,
the
so
reason behind first why there's no S tier, Mister ADC genius, washed up.
Um. Okay, so there's no S tier because okay, ADC is like a role very, I'd say very dependent on your team for the first part. So if your like team's doing well, obviously you're gonna shine a lot more. And if your team's just inting, you're gonna get 4-man bot lane. So good luck with that.
Hey David, do you know about the 4-man bot lane?
I haven't heard about it before. What
Oh,
was
okay.
that? Would you like to explain it?
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm traumatized.
So it's really kind of hard to judge these ADCs. Like they're not like so like none of these ADCs really solo carry their team. Like the top tier ADCs really have like at least someone else on the team that's also doing really well. Kind of prevents that 4-man, changes it to a 3-man, instead. And then that basically allows them to shine more than the other ADCs as well. They're not like actually just solo carrying or like pumping out the damage just like by themselves. So there's not really any like outstanding player, but there's still like pretty decent ones in there. So that's why we didn't have an S tier. So A tier we had Kidlat and Zerobi. Wait, you have Zerobi in the jungle tier list as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zerobi.
I think it was just because they don't have a set jungler right now,
Mhm.
Okay.
so we had to put
Okay.
them into roles.
So we put Kidlat above Zerobi, primarily because we see Zerobi has a lot more CS per minute, but Kidlat has a pretty high, like a fairly has a higher kill contribution than Zerobi as well. So that like kind of suggests that Kidlat is um, more willing to fall around his team and like participate in these fights, whereas Zerobi kind of plays like the Fnatic Reckless style before, where Reckless is just farming waves and the team's dying. He's just like, oh, let me catch this wave again
But
until
Zerobi
he
has a
eventually
much
does something.
higher DPM, I
Yeah, he might
think.
have a much higher DPM, but like he's also dying a lot more as well.
Mm. Okay. I'm not sure.
Like that, if you have a high DPM and you're just jumping into their team, you're not really helping your team that much.
But what, David? I love
Like
playing Tristana and eating into them, or
Yeah, I love
isn't
being
isn't he
it
wild
Wing
turtle.
into
W?
them? Sorry, W into
Have
them.
Have you seen Wild Turtle play League of Legends
All
before?
right, anyway.
Yeah, so
Let's go
like
to
the
B tier.
DPM.
All right,
Yes.
okay,
Okay, so the
go ahead,
DPM
David.
numbers might be skewed a bit because of the deaths. So it's like kind of hard to judge them. Except
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure Kidlat does like a better general job of like being there for his team, like not dying, still being able to like pump out damage towards the end of team fights. So
Ah,
yeah, that's in general. And these two ADCs are just has much better stats than the rest of the ADCs at least,
Hmm.
DPM wise and just overall.
Yeah, I think DPM and GPM were both considered before we kind of looked at them. So you know, I think I agree fully with the A tier. I think Killad and Zerobi are kind of performing similarly. It's just like they both excel in different areas. Like I think Killad's getting kind of pulled around with his team a lot. So that's what explains why he has lower CS numbers by a considerable amount. Maybe he is also dropping CS on top of that fact because that's pretty obvious because 6.1 is also like because you're dropping farm, um, but he is getting pulled around with his team a lot considering that he has an 11% more kill contribution. But I think the fact that Zerobi is also dying one of the highest on the ADCs is just shows that even though he has one of the highest DPMs, it's like more like he's committing to like doing damage and he has just no way out of it once he commits. But yeah, I think he does have one of the highest CS. So I think they're like um, pretty much they're similar in their tier but different in what they do. So
Yeah.
so that takes us to B tier and Manny and D Kremlin. I think we both discussed Manny's pretty much like their centerpiece of that team.
Yeah.
What did you say, David?
Pretty sure Manny has like the highest kill contribution on his
yeah,
team.
second highest out of all the ADCs.
No, no, on his team.
Oh, on his team, I believe he does have the highest.
Yeah, so that's like showing, especially on A carry, where you're just like trying to catch waves as well. That's like just showing that he's like kind of just carrying that team. except his team's just failing. Getting those 4-mans unlucky.
Yep, he does have the highest out of everyone
Yeah,
on his team.
yeah, and I don't know. I think Manny, like, because he's getting forced to carry his team, that might be why he's kind of like pushed down a little bit and he's having like these lower numbers. Um, but I think BME as a team is like normally forced to build comps around Manny and trying to support him and see how much the resources they can give him. And then I think D Kremlin's amazing as well. Uh, second highest KD I think out of the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, second highest KDs, one of the higher number CSs, and another great kill participation. Low deaths. That might be a new concept to Zerobi, but no flame, no flame. But yeah, so that kind of sums up B tier. I think again, it's like I think they're like both great players, and they both play for pretty good teams. And finally, we have C tier. Screen Hunter, you want to tell us about this?
There's not really much to say other than the C tier
What's your
bot lane.
reasoning behind putting these guys all in the same spot?
I think they're all just they're kind of just there. They're on losing teams. They're just they're not really being able to impact the game. And I think David said it pretty well. Where it's really hard to shine as a bot lane if your team is losing. I don't think there's much more to say to that. The if their team was on a upward trend, then maybe we might see these numbers go higher, and maybe these players can really shine. But if your team is losing, I mean, you play bot lane, you know that it's pretty hard to carry as an ADC if your entire team is just losing in all three lanes.
I think, in my honest opinion, if your jungler is not applying pressure to bot lane, there's very it's very difficult to win if both sides of bot lane are like evenly matched, right? Like if one side is like considerably better, like that's not really a matchup thing, right? That's just you're better than the other guy. So like if you win, it's just like, oh, congratulations, you beat someone who's worse than you. But like if it's an even game, then jungler becomes a huge factor in which way it's gonna sway. And I think one of the big things I've noticed is that if your mid laner is really good, it's very likely you're doing very well on ADC because the enemy team is forced to prioritize either AD or mid, right? On who they
Mm-hmm.
focus and how they want to shut down. So it allows for one of them to have like basically kind of an open space to like do whatever they want, right?
And maybe that's what's happening with Kidlat. Maybe Kidlat is looking so good because Snowflake Lecco is being able to apply so much pressure.
The faker bang. Whew. Nah, I'm just kidding. But like that is normally a thing. Like if you
Yeah.
see really good ADs, it's because their mid laner is also doing really well. I mean, there are obviously really good ADs. Period. Like there are people like Double Lift, for example. But uh,
Hey, Double Lift is B tier at best.
at B tier at best, PogChamp. All right, so let's finally go on to our final list, which is support.
And
Uh,
Django asked a good question, and I think it's relevant that we talk about it now. Is that we ranked ADCs and supports not as a bot lane, but as two separate roles. Like we weren't really saying that these two are really good as a bot lane. We were just saying that as an ADC versus as a support.
right, right. All right, so okay. I mean, I don't know if we've already said this, but who do you guys think has the most potential of moving up?
Um,
Will we ever see an S tier, David?
in S tier.
An S tier.
I think it's really hard because both of the A tiers right now have really good mid laners, like you said before. At least like decent mid laners that are able to
Yeah.
hold their own and
I mean,
influence
they're
the
they're
map.
they're both top three mid laners.
Yeah. So it's really hard for them to actually like shine. It's like kind of hard to do the damage if they're already dead to your mid laner, you know? I've had
Yeah,
that
if
problem
Snowflake Gecko
before.
has the highest DPMs,
It's kind of hard to compete for DPM if they're already dead.
it's like, yo, can you stop killing him, please? I need to pad my stats. But no. Yeah, I think for sure. I think I would say out of B tier mid laner, I mean ADCs, I think Manny very likely to move up and D Kremlin. I think by the end of the season, if Kidlat and Zerobi keep playing as well as they do, I think and Manny and D Kremlin's team starts like doing extremely well. I mean, we already know CMS is doing really well, but I think if these two teams, ADCs, get more chance to shine, I think they'll definitely be Like there'll be 4 A tier ADCs. I think they're just that good. I don't know about C tier. I think that's kind of like I just think these players are somewhat lackluster because we haven't seen a lot of games, or they're just playing kind of poorly at the moment. But anything is subject to change as rosters change, players change their play style, different champions are picked, drafting goes differently and whatnot.
Hmm.
So okay, so let's go into supports.
I'll talk about S tier supports
Okay, go ahead.
because it's really easy
Why is
to.
there an S tier support but no S tier ADC? Isn't
I
the
think
ADC the best champion in the laning phase when you have a
uh
support?
I think that's just straight up wrong because wise
I
man
agree.
he's a
Support
he's
are
a
the most
di-
useful
he
players.
plays at a diamond 5 level support. He once told me that it's the support that dictates the lane.
Support does everything. Come on,
Yeah,
it's just obvious. I mean,
and
if you're AD and you legitimately believe you're the reason you're winning lane,
exactly.
I don't know. You probably belong in a mental asylum, but like that's not my problem. See, like ADCs are normally generally like very cocky players.
Yeah,
So
you look at David.
I mean, even when I play ADC, I just think I can do anything. So I just run straight into them and see what
Yeah,
happens.
it's the wild turtle. You W in because you're like I do the most damage in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first at least 10 minutes of the game is very much dictated by your support,
Yeah,
at the
and
least.
so the two top supports very clearly are Anger Ranger and then Flame.
Flam,
Anger Ranger,
flam.
Flam. My bad, Flam.
No, it's probably flame, but just say flam.
Yeah, Flam. So Anger Ranger has 295. Yeah, he has he or she has double the number of games played as Flam, but they also have 295 wards placed in 4 games. That's like that's more than 50 wards placed a game. Like, that's insane. They're providing so much vision control for their team. And I think the one thing that Flam has over Anger Ranger and that Anger Ranger can work on is just deaths. And even with 17 deaths over 4 games, they still have pretty decent. Anger Ranger still has pretty decent KDA for a support. And I think that's like really valuable because as a support, if you're dying, you're not being able to do anything for your team. It's not like you're CSing. It's not like you're getting gold anywhere else. You're just dying and giving the enemy team gold. Versus Flam doing the same thing. Only played 2 games, only died twice over those 2 games, has 126 wards in 2 games, has a 19 KDA. It's just both of these supports are just playing and providing so much value to their team.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing for me as a support player is when I look at like all my accounts and how much KDA they have, and like so overall like I don't know like I mean just most of my accounts like if I look they all have high KDAs, like everything is in the yellows, right? And I think KDA is like something that should be like of importance when you look at the supports, and obviously kill contribution, because your support, like what do you actually do other than support your team and lead them to victory, right? Like you don't just hang around your ADC the whole game and pray that they like somehow go from 0-3 to like 19-0 or something, right? It's never gonna happen.
Exactly. And
So
like as a support, like you said, exactly what are you doing? And it's so easy to pick up assists with items in the game like Relic Shield, Frostbang. It's like
Solari, stuff like that. Yeah. So
Redemption. It's like
yeah, redemption. There's so many ways to get assists, and if you don't think if you're not gonna put up the numbers, then obviously you're not doing something right on the roll, right? So I think these guys, they do have Anger Ranger has 4 games played at 71, and
yeah,
Flam literally has half as many, and he's played half as many games, obviously.
exactly. So I think
Pretty close,
I
like
think
off
they're
by
both,
3, but yeah,
yeah, I think they're both performing at a really high level.
yeah. And with the half a number of games, she also has half a number of wards,
Yep.
and kill contribution is pretty much the same.
Hmm.
So I think the only thing really separating them is the deaths, but if one player is playing, let's say like a different genre of supports, I'll call it genre for now, but like I think Flam plays more like Thresh and stuff, right? And Anger
Yeah,
Ranger's playing more somewhere along the lines of Braum and stuff, right?
yeah, I think so. I think
Um,
if you're looking at the picks,
yeah. So
uh,
I think in that case, like, yeah, one of them will be likely to have more deaths than the other, but yeah, I think they're both S tier in terms of support. Um,
and really closely following Flam, I think Pack Shack Tax has if he continues to perform at or he or she continues to perform at this level, I think it can become an S tier, maybe not an S tier, but definitely a high tier support where just get more involved in the team's kills because over 3 games has slightly lower stats than Flam, and just still putting up great wars, putting up a lot of support for the team, just not at the level that we want to see out of an S tier support. And then I think right underneath would be Moan for Daddy. I guess the same problem, just is doing well, but needs to be more involved with the team. Like if you look at both of these, the A tier junglers or A tier supports, they're both 10% less involved with team kills, and that might just be because of like Taco and FS being like really good teams, and I think the two top teams that we rated, and then the next two teams not as high rated, maybe not having as many kills, not being able to do as many things on the map, and that's why leading to a lower kill contribution. David, thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I think you pretty much touched upon everything. I don't know what else I should say.
Wait, did you guys talk about the C tier?
But no, we haven't gotten to C tier.
Okay. So yeah, I think in terms of A tier, I think these guys are really good supports. And I know Moan for Daddy is playing for BME, so she's with Manny in the bottom. But yeah, I think like I think like they're both like Pax Jax and Moan for Daddy are just really good because like for how many games they played so far, I think they're showing good like their direction that they're going in is pretty good. Their vision score is very similar to at the rate they're going. Moan for Daddy's vision score is looking very similar to how Flam's going and the other guys are going, and so yeah. I mean, you guys want to talk about C tier maybe, or I guess it's B tier and C tier.
I changed it back to B tier.
Okay.
Changed it to it's proper SABC.
Okay.
Minor typo. So B tier, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I think you summed it up pretty well. Is that what can you do as a support other than support your team? And if
yeah,
you're not being able to
it
support your
doesn't even
team,
have to be KDA. KDA just showcases that the role of champions you're playing, right? If you have a lower half of your KDA, then it's like, oh, you're playing tanks. And if you have really disgusting looking KDAs, you probably play like Janna or something, or like shield mages, right? Like we know that, but it's like when you look at vision score or like words placed, words killed, kill contribution, those are a number of assists, right, per game. That is literally what showcases like what a support is, right? I mean,
right?
you can't look more than that, like, so you'd have to watch the games. And I think even if you look at laning, like in general, like for championship league at least, I think laning is just weak.
And I think
so it's not something I overly like look at because like a lot of matchups that look obvious, right? Like I can look at a matchup for 2v2 and just be like, this champion wins 100%, or not 100% of the time, but like 80% of the time, and 20% of the time will lose if this champion plays it wrong, right? But most of the time, that's not even applicable to Championship League, because like random champions win.
like Jinx is winning lane.
Yeah, like Jinx winning lane. Like when does that ever realistically happen? Unless you're like Deft or something, right? But yeah, I think B tier and C tier for support at least, it's just like they're just on the lower spectrum of like vision control, words placed, and kill contribution. And it just so happens that the teams they also play for are not performing too well, and they're not being the players that are kind of stepping up to become the playmakers for that team. So they're kind of pushed to the bottom.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much.
But yeah, I
more
mean,
to say.
support's is just a personal role I have, so maybe that's why we're kind of biased, and there is no D tier. But yeah, I mean, you could just in your mental like mind, you could just be like, oh, S tier is A tier, and then B tier, C tier, D tier. So I mean, that you could do that if you want. It doesn't really change anything other than the fact that this is how we order them. But yeah, I mean that sums it up for our tier list. We have literally 1 minute left to kind of close everything out. But were there any questions? I know I saw some.
Yeah, there was one. Since the three, I think this was asked by.
Let's go ahead and ask the question. We don't care really who asked it, but.
Since the three roles you've gone over seem to be most affected by the current meta, this was said when we finished mid.
Okay, I know
and
who said this.
Yeah, any players you think will be affected by the meta shift is a positive way.
In a positive way?
Yeah. So
No.
basically, are the meta changes gonna help any?
Nope.
Really? You don't think?
Here's the thing. I've coached for bronze, silver, and gold, plat, and for D2 for college. And I don't think for at least gold below, tier list matters.
You mean
If you
actually?
were honest, like honest to God, really good at your champion, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. Like you could make Gnar seem really good just because you're good at Gnar, right? And because of that
Okay.
slight little buff, maybe you think like that's the reason like you're really good at Gnar all of a sudden. But it's just mental. Like everything is just in your mind. Because you think this champion got buffed, you're just like, oh, I mentally got buffed, and then you're just playing a lot better, right?
I guess I disagree
It's
with
a
you.
lot like that for a lot of players, especially in
I
the
think I would
lower lane.
disagree. When it comes to I think junglers, I think is one thing that I would disagree with you on. Where I think certain junglers like TSM Batman who are really consistent on the tank junglers, I think that the patch changes just are just gonna not make a significant difference, like by any means, but at least help them a little bit in the sense that maybe it is just a mental thing, like you're saying. But I think like with tank junglers becoming more and more popular and right buff giving a buff with Cinderhulk changes and everything, I think it helps junglers like TSM Batman. But maybe maybe that is all just in your head with what you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, God, like you'd have okay. So I think the champion pools would be affected if they like, for some reason, decided that, let's say, what's a champion? Okay, so I'm gonna look at the championship champ stats right now, and Alistar has the highest win rate, right? But I don't even think Alistar is a good champion right now. Like I don't think he's
Yeah,
S tier or A tier. I think he's like a
I
B
don't think
tier. He's
anyone
like a
did
B
that.
plus, right? Like if you wanted to play a tank support, why aren't you just playing Taric, right?
Yeah,
Why aren't you playing Braum, right? Braum and Taric, these are top tier tanks right now. Everyone agrees in Korea. Everyone agrees all around the world. Like they know these are really good. And recently Taric just got a buff, like
200 damage level 1.
200 damage level 1, and you can Q like literally every 2 seconds, 2.85. I literally played it like an hour ago
And
for the
doesn't it
first time
stack
in my
up to
life,
like
and I'm
5?
like, this champion is ridiculous.
And
He
you
has
have like
so
5
much brush
stacks of Q
control
now.
in lane, like, but these guys are opting to play Alistar, who is still fairly weak because the ultimate buffs he's getting is not even that good. Like people are like, oh, he got 5% buff on his ultimate, dude. Let's go. I can dive towers now. No, it's like, no, you can't. 5%? Really? Get out of here. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying Ali's like useless, like you said, but
No. We
it's just a meme,
after
right?
our solo queue game yesterday, where we had a
No, I
avatar lane.
literally played Alistar after, and I was being a beast. But I think like Alistar, like he's good, but he's not a good alternative to tank supports. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Elucid's point is that buffs will affect Batman. Nope, I'm not saying that at all. unless pretty fast, hard engaged though. I mean, sure.
I mean,
Like
you might
yeah,
not pick Malphite then.
but like over committing to a fight, like you're using your CC for a rotation of abilities that, yeah, like let's say you're forced to play on the back. Like Alistar is good when you're ahead, right? Because you have like a way of gap closing, right? But then why isn't like if you're just looking for hard engage and fast engage, why not Rakan,
Look
right?
at
Do you
season
really need a
5.
tank in that case?
If you want to see why Alistar is bad, you can look at season 5 TSM where Lustboy was playing Alistar every game and they were still losing like
Yeah, but
every
then
game.
you look at season 6 TSM where they got
No,
smashed
but
by Mono's
season five
Alistar.
Alistar was actually like decent. I think season 6 was when Alistar was at its peak, because he had
Yeah.
like 90% I think on his ultimate
Yeah,
damage
Yeah.
reduction or something. It was
90%
ridiculous.
level 1
Yeah, 90% level 1. So
or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, it was insane. And then they nerfed it to like 60, and people were just like, yeah, this champ's garbage, and then they took it out. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you're looking for hard, fast engage, just pick a hard, fast engager, not Alistar.
Yeah, I don't think meta matters that much in
Yeah, I
these
don't think.
tournaments.
Yeah, I don't think meta matters in anything that's like plat 5 below. Like maybe it matters when people are actually good.
Like you can legit play anything. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah. I mean, I've seen Nocturne junglers doing really well in RPL, and I think Nocturne is the most useless champion in the game.
Hey, Nocturne is great. I played him for the
Actually,
first
I
time
haven't even
today.
seen a single game of Nocturne. I'm just lying. I think it might have been last season when people played Nocturne. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
last season.
that was the season that I played. Like, I remember
Yeah,
Nocturne
no one's
being
played
super
Nocturne
high.
this season because they realized this. But last RPL season, there was a guy who played Nocturne. I think that was pretty good.
I don't know, with lethality
On the
changes,
history
who
of
knows? Maybe
Alistar. Yeah, I mean, people think Alistar is good, and I don't. Um.
back in my day, Faker solo killed Crown's Kha'Zix with Nidalee when Crown was stuck in the wing evolution animation.
Wing evolution animation. Lol.
It was bad.
But yeah, I don't think meta affects anything. Is there any other questions?
Nah, that's it.
That was it.
No.
I think there was like other questions.
Nah, they were all answered as we were going through. No one actually. Not that
I
I.
think there was a comment about like how we're not looking at laning phase, but you know I already made my comment on that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Pretty much everything has been answered out of all the questions I've seen. Like, so if there's no more questions,
But yeah, I'm not sure if Django's trolling with the Rakan is faster and harder because you literally can't dodge Rakan's combo. It literally happens in like 1 second, and you gap close like 4,000.
I think the problem with like Rakan and Alistar is like it's for different matchups. Like Braum blocks a bunch of Rakan's engage, while Alistar's engage on Braum is actually decent. So like
Yeah,
depends
which
on
is why
like
but like that's
what
why,
you
but that's
actually
why when you're
against.
playing tanks, right? You normally don't opt to pick Alistar, like as a first pick. It's kind of troll. But yeah, I think Alistar's pretty decent in lane. Like he's okay.
what I think is interesting is like as soon as people started playing Braum into Rakan, Rakan fell off so hard. Like no
Yeah, I
one, like,
mean,
almost no one plays
you
Rakan anymore.
run into the face of a guy who can apply stacks instantly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of counterintuitive, especially since like Braum has always been a counter engage, and Rakan's been super fast and hard engage, as someone said in chat. But yeah,
Like it fast and hard.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there were some other questions, but
I think that's all.
yeah, I think that's all. I think RPL tier list. This is kind of the first one we did. I think Prestige will have its own in a week, maybe next week, next Thursday.
And feel free to provide comments and thoughts about this in the RS Thoughts text channel.
No,
or...
not in the RS thoughts. Do not type in there. Do not type in there. Just don't talk to us.
No.
Just don't talk to us. Period. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's why Lucy's always on invisible. Secrets out there.
Hey, we'll probably post this in God, you want to make like an RPL tier list team like channel and then just drop the tier list there and see how people think about it? Will there be another tier list at the end of the season? Yes, there will be. There will be another tier list. Do not worry, friends. We will have another one.
We will judge you all again.
I'm talking to you anyway.
I love all the positivity we have in our community. It is a nice and friendly environment.
All right. Anyway, we'll just end it right here. Thanks for everybody coming out and listening to our tier list, even though it was, you know, not what everyone liked apparently. But you know, opinions happens. So you know, owner of Elucid, RPL signing off. Our owner of RPL is signing off. Would you guys like to give the farewells?
There will be no hot player list. Goodbye.
David, will we ever see an S plus ADC? Not even S tier, S plus.
Unless you're
S plus.
Unless you're a ruler, I don't think so.
Unless you're a ruler. Oh my god. All right. Well, good night, everybody.